I'm the most popular character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but nobody can write a decent comic book with me in it.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. The man who rules the world breaks in a brand new partner to help him take care of business in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Taking Care of Business at paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere.
I've been an Iron Man fan since I was 6 years old, and I've been deeply disappointed in how the character has been handled for the last, I say, about 25 years. Now, the Iron Man character is one of the most popular characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he is somebody that has become practically a brand for Marvel. Unfortunately, Marvel has not been able to capitalize on getting this character right in the comics, and in the comics, the character has struggled, as I see it, for the last 2 decades. Now, as I see it, we have not really had a really solid run of Iron Man comics ever since the days of Kurt Busiek and Sean Chen. And other runs by other writers have, like your Brian Michael Bendis, and the last guy to write the Iron Man book, with that Iron Man 2020 storyline, it's just been absolutely terrible. And the character has, as I see it, fallen further and further into decline and has just not been where he needs to be. Now, when they started this recent relaunch of Iron Man with the writer Christopher Cantwell and the artist Cafu with a beautiful Alex Ross designed armor, I thought that this book would start its return to its glory days of previous runs by artists like Bob Layton and John Romita Jr., with David Michelinie writing, and writers like Len Kamenetsky, who had Kevin Hoppegood on art, who made a brilliant and innovative designs like War Machine and the Hulkbuster armor. I thought we were going to get runs like those, 2 solid runs, and the run done by Kurt Busiek and Sean Chen. I thought we were going to get that level of storytelling in Iron Man, but sadly, after a strong first issue by Christopher Cantwell and Cafu, the entire series has practically fallen completely apart. And the book has practically, the storyline with this Korvac has gone absolutely nowhere over the course of 8 issues. I mean, in the last issue of Iron Man, we had no Tony Stark in the book. The entire book was about Patsy Walker. And that's not what a good writer does. You don't take an entire issue and focus on a supporting character and make them the primary focus of the story. So when I look at this latest Iron Man run, it's practically lost every bit of promise that it could have had. I mean, here you had an opportunity to really get this people excited about this character. Unfortunately, because the writer did not have enough vision for the story, it has practically gone nowhere. I mean, I don't think he has a good handle on Tony Stark, and I know that the writers have really put Tony Stark through the ringer, but people really want to see a Tony Stark who is a playboy, a Tony Stark who has confidence, and we have not seen that with Tony Stark. Instead, what we have gotten is this beta male version of Tony Stark who is insecure, feels inadequate, and is doubtful of himself, and really does not use a lot of the critical thinking that Tony used in the runs done by David Michelinie and Bob Layton, or the runs by Kamenetsky and Hopgood. And the armor, which is supposed to be one of the big focuses of the book, has practically been marginalized in the book. I mean, Iron Man is supposed to be about Tony Stark putting on armor and beating up bad guys, And we're not getting that in this comic. No, we're getting these meandering stories where Tony's got these midlife crisis or these insecurities, and this just drags the book on, and then we get scenes of him beating up bad guys and not really thinking about it, or not having anything related to a story. So we're not getting what an Iron Man book is supposed to be about. Big action and adventure, big action and intrigue. We're supposed to be getting big, epic James Bond style adventures. That was one of the things I liked about the Michelini and Layton run of the 70s and the Michelini and Layton run of the 80s, was we've got this big grand scale as related to the adventures. Tony Stark was a big rich guy having big time adventures. I remember one book where he was in the casino with Bethany Cave and he takes on Melter, Blizzard, and Black and Whiplash, and there was just a lot of action and fun in that whole 3 series of issues of story, and it just came together beautifully to illustrate how Tony Stark is a playboy and how he is also looking out for other people and how he cares about other people. And we're not really getting any of that because your Cantwell stripped Tony away from Stark Enterprises, which was a big mistake I'm seeing after looking at his run in later issues. And we've got this really, again, beta male, neutered Tony Stark. And what's sad is he's flying around in what I called the retro mod armor. And this retro mod armor, again, by Alex Ross, looks absolutely fantastic. But what's sad is this fantastic visual design doesn't have the stories to really illustrate what this armor does, and it doesn't have the stories to really make us connect and care with Tony Stark. We're not really getting anywhere with this whole Korvac storyline, which has practically gone nowhere over 8 issues. A good writer like myself would have had this storyline wrapped up in 3, and by the 8th issue would be in the middle of a 3rd storyline, because you want to keep the readers going out here and picking up books as the run goes along, because you only get one chance at a good first impression. And sadly, after leaving a good first impression in the 1st issue, we've gotten nothing but disappointment with the Iron Man character, which is really a shame, because here is a character who is at the height of his popularity thanks to those Marvel Cinematic Universe movies and Robert Downey Jr.'s amazing performance, but nobody can seem to get this character right as related to writing stories with the Tony Stark character and showing us reasons to care about him and reasons to care about why he's Iron Man and why Iron Man's fighting against injustice and oppression should care, so the reader care about it. And that's, again, the sad part about this latest run of Iron Man. Alex Ross gave us a fantastic design for the suit that pays homage to the classic era of Iron Man, gives us a great visual design, but because the writer could not execute on concept, the book has suffered and has never really actualized its potential. Because if you hire the wrong writer, what they do is, like a bad mechanic, is they don't really know how to make the engine of the story work. And because they don't know how to make the engine of the story work, they wind up doing more damage to components, and it's looking like your Iron Man is headed towards another blown head gasket or a damaged ECU. And that's what's looking like is happening with this Cantwell run, which is already compounding the damage of the previous writer's run. I believe he was like one of those, he wrote Spider-Man and messed him up too. And Brian Michael Bendis's damage. So you have like 3 writers who have just practically creatively damaged this character and took the character right back to becoming close to creatively totaled. And this character, sadly, could be fixed if they could just find the right writer and get this character back on track the same way that the Tom Taylor has gotten Nightwing back on track. I mean, Tom Taylor has done a fantastic job in just one issue of turning Nightwing around, and we need a good writer at Marvel to turn Iron Man around, because, again, here's a character who is one of the most popular characters, and he has this, again, fantastic brand new design, and sadly, your Marvel's editorial just doesn't have the vision to take this character and make it great again, and really give us a Tony Stark who's a playboy and similar to what Stan Lee imagined, and out here fighting the bad guys and giving us simple 3-issue arcs, 2-issue arcs, something that David Michelinie and Len Kamenetsky and Kurt Busiek used to do. This book could be one of Marvel's top sellers in the hands of a competent writer, but Marvel gave it to this writer, and this writer has practically failed to make this character work. They have failed to really get you excited about this book, and the book has a meandering storyline that is practically designed for trade, but and tackles elements of old storylines from the Marvel Universe, but really has not come together due to poor execution. And that's the really, again, sad part about Iron Man. Here's a character who, again, is at the height of his popularity and at the height of his most demand as related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You can't keep people from buying Iron Man action figures or Iron Man MCU merchandise. And here you have Marvel that can't create a book that can capitalize on those sales or be able to synergize and get the sales from the new readers. So I know that it's not the visual. Alex Ross did a great job on that retro mod armor, and I have to say Cafu is a competent artist, but he needs, again, a good colorist, and they need to really make this book pop. But the writing is the problem with this book, and the writing is not, as I see it, up to par for this Tony Stark character. It really does not show Tony's iron resolve, his iron determination. It really doesn't show him with confidence. And these are things that readers want to see in a superhero book. They want to see confidence. They want to see a character who goes out here and beats the bad guys. And they want to see a storyline that's very simple and easy to follow. And we're not getting this with Iron Man. And the character is just practically not living up to his potential. And sadly, Marvel, this is going to be, as I see it, the 4th or 5th run of the book that has practically failed to catch on. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to try my first comic on the SJS Direct imprint, Esteem No Good Deed, you can pick up a copy for 99 cents on Amazon.com on Kindle. And if you want to pick up my books featuring heroes and heroines like the Isis series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Coming to paperback and e-readers this April, Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door must take on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess in paperback and e-readers this April.